Thank you. Well, good evening, everyone. And today I'd like to introduce to you our guest speaker. Her name is Clare Whittaker and she is a solicitor. Thank you for coming tonight, Clare. Could you please tell us a little bit about yourself?
Okay, I'm Clare Whittaker. I'm married to an architect and I live in Herefordshire. I've got two children, both of whom have now left home. They're waiting to start postgraduate degrees and working, doing all sorts of things. I'm a solicitor and I work for Harrison Clark Rickaby's, who are a very large firm of solicitors dotted around. We seem to be eating up lots of new firms of solicitors every time I turn my computer on. But I'm based in their Hereford office, although I do also work out of the Worcester office and the Ross on Wye office. I do law mainly to do with children. That's how I met Enza.
Yeah, it's been a while now.
Yeah.
Oh, how old were you when you decided to become a solicitor?
I can't say I had a burning desire to do it. I kind of fell into it. I didn't really know what I wanted to do when I was in school. So I sort of did the exam, did my O levels and my A levels. That's showing my age. And then I decided that I wanted to be a nanny. So I went off to the Royal Nanny College, which is called Norland Nursery Training College. If you see any of the pictures of the Royals, any nanny in the background in a brown outfit is a Norland nanny. So I tried that for a while, didn't finish the course, decided actually, I think I ought to do something a little bit more challenging, and it's a very lonely life. So everybody said, oh, you've got to go to university. Didn't have a clue what I wanted to do. And people said, well, the most useful and most diverse subject you can do is law. Okay, all right, got into uni, did a law degree. And I think it was probably halfway through year one that I thought, oh, I quite like this. And by the time I'd finished my first year, yeah, that's what I wanted to do. So it's been since then, really. So that's 30 odd years, more years than I care to say.
That one is a secret.
Yeah.
What did you do in your degree? What was your degree in?
So I actually did a law degree. I went to Cardiff Uni, did a straight law degree, and in the degree you have, especially if you want to be a solicitor or a barrister, there are a number of standard subjects that you have to do. They tend to be the really dull ones. So constitution law, contract law, land law, all things you'd never ever want to repeat again. Then you can choose around that, so you can do other subjects. So one of the subjects I did was family law. I did the history of law. So I learned all about, Henry V and how he changed the legal system, because I did history A level. I loved that. But there's not much money to be made in history of law. And then when I finished there, I had to do what's called a conversion course, or solicitors finals. And at the time, there were only 3 places in the whole of the UK you could do that. That was London, Chester and Guildford. So I spent a year in Guildford. And then training, then you have to get what it's now called a training contract with a firm of solicitors. It used to be called articles, and you still spend 2 years with a firm of solicitors, and you spend a bit of time in each different department, training, getting experience in all different areas. So total time to get to be a solicitor for me was 6 years.
6 years of studying.
Yeah.
And it doesn't stop there, I presume.
Oh, it never stops, no, because the law keeps on changing, and we have to know, in our area, what's changing. We've got big changes in family law this year. We've got no fault divorce coming in. We've got, they're always changing the children law and the Children Act and stuff. So we're constantly learning. Yeah.
Interesting. Thank you. You said did you go to Cardiff, did I hear you say?
Did, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what
And
made you choose Cardiff?
well, I'd grown up for about 10 years in Cardiff. Then I left. And when I was looking at unis, Cardiff was one of the ones that was, an option. So I thought, well, I like Cardiff. I know Cardiff. Um, so here I went back to Cardiff, and I met my husband on Freshers' Night.
Oh,
That was 35 years ago.
we won't delve into Freshers' Night.
No, don't go there.
I'm still trying to get over my grandson's Freshers' Night. I don't want to know anymore.
Oh, no.
So you specialised in family law. What areas did you specialise in?
Well, for a lot of my career, I've always been in high street practices. This is the biggest firm I've ever worked in. So years ago, you did a bit of a mix of work. So when I qualified, I did family law, but I also did a bit of sort of litigation. So that was personal injury and contract law and stuff, which I didn't particularly enjoy. So dropped as much of that as possible. And then for about 10 years, specialised in two areas. So that was family law, and that was everything. That was money, children, divorce, all that kind of stuff. And then I did personal injury law for a while. But as law gets more specialised, you have to now choose a specialism. It's impossible for you to know more than one or two areas of law and be good at it. So I specialise then in family, and I've just narrowed further and further down. So most of my work now all relates to children. So that's acting for parents, grandparents, special guardians, kinship carers. And I've just recently got an extra qualification from the Law Society, which means that I can act for children. So where the children are in court and they have their own guardian, I can be a solicitor for the guardian, and not any solicitor can do that. You have to do an extra qualification, which took a lot of studying, and my poor brain hurt a lot.
Well done. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Continually studying. That's brilliant.
I don't think I'm going to go for anything else.
Not yet. Not
No.
yet. We'll see what comes up.
Oh, yeah.
So why are you passionate about kinship care?
I'm going to blame you for that, Enzo. Because when we met, I think probably about 8 or 9 years ago, although I knew what kinship care was, it was still, it still is a bit of a Cinderella area, isn't it, really? And you were so passionate about it. I thought, well, I need to speak to this lady more often. And you started referring, people to come and see me about, kinship care. So I delved more into it. And I think I came to meetings with you, and then about 3-4 years ago, I became a trustee. Yeah.
Yes.
And it's just hearing all of your stories tonight, it sounds a bit, but I'm inspired by people like you who take on other people's children, and have to fight so hard against the authorities, against, in court, to fight for these children's, rights. I've always worked with children, obviously wanted to be a nanny, so I've been, always been interested in children. I've got my own, etc. But I just think it's the fact that so often you're the guys looking in, and you are people don't realize you should be the people at the center of the circle. You're the people looking after the children, and yet you're always seen as sort of, oh, well, they'll have them. And that's why I'm passionate. That's why I want to try and help. And if that means we can change things going forwards and make people more aware, that's why I'm passionate. You make me passionate, Enzo.
By gentle persuasion. And I encourage everybody to speak to professionals and let them know about kinship care, because the more professionals know, and the more professionals that understand your pathway and where you've walked and where you're going and where you've been, then the more understanding they get, and the next person they help, they are more aware.
Yeah.
So thoroughly recommend that.
Yeah. And I think also, I work now in a much bigger organisation, and we have our own dedicated care team. It's called Safe from Harm. And we all do care and kinship and that kind of thing. And we've got young, I feel old now, but we've got young solicitors and trainee solicitors coming through, and they're starting at the very bottom, learning what kinship care is from day one. So the lawyers of tomorrow who are going to be in court, who are going to be advising people, we're getting there gradually, so that, you know, I think when we first started talking, you could talk to a whole load of even family solicitors and say kinship care, and they'd go, what? Or, you know, say, well, let's go for a special guardianship order. No, what's one of them? You know, and that's changed in those years. So it just needs to keep changing.
Yeah, we'll have to meet your young solicitors and
You
train
will.
them up. Definitely have to do that. Right, let's have a look. What are your main challenges with the kinship care process? I know there's many.
There are so many. I think the fact that I always feel like we're a bit on the back foot. We often come into the process a bit late, and you have clients, you know, often if I'm in court, yes, somebody says social workers, yes, definitely. I think when you're in court, if I'm representing somebody in kinship, I can often be the only person that's not on legal aid. So I've got grandparents who are fighting, and, you know, they're having to pay court, you know, they're having to pay their legal fees. And I find that frustrating. The sheer volume of paperwork that's produced, and so that's, you know, that can drown you. I've had some documents in today, and I've had over 1,000 pages of documents for a hearing on Monday afternoon for kinship carers. So I've got to, even if I skim read them, you know, I can't skim read everything. So volume of work, trying to manage expectations when you have clients coming to see you, particularly new to the kinship process, and they don't know what to expect, and they've been bombarded with everything, and they're feeling very vulnerable. So managing expectations and helping them, and also trying to say to people, you know, you can get support from lots of different areas. Please remember, I'm the lawyer on the, you know, talk to me about lawyer things, particularly if you are paying me. Find other support groups to talk to me about, can't get the kids to bed, or, you know, got a problem with the social worker and stuff. So it's managing other professionals as well. And yeah, main challenges are often other professionals, and that can be, sometimes they're great, and some of social services departments are really getting it now, but sometimes it can be, you know, other professionals. Lots. And then just sheer business stuff, because I work for a firm, I work for a business, and as a very big firm, they're still doing legal aid work. So the legal aid work that I do, you know, has to pay its way, otherwise why would they continue doing it? They, you know, so there are financial pressures on me to, you know, hit targets. And when, you know, some of my commercial colleagues are charging, you know, a large amount of money per hour, and I'm working on legal aid rates, that can feel quite miserable at times.
I can imagine. Yeah. Yes, that doesn't sound right.
The good parts are you get good results at the end often. You have clients who feel more in control of their circumstances because they understand it more, and lots of court work, because I like being in court. Maybe I'm a show off or something, but I quite like going to court, arguing for clients. I like a bit of a fight, thinking on your feet. So those are the good parts of it.
You're gonna be the top of your game.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're like the hare, I'm like the tortoise.
Both get there in the end, though, Enza.
We do, eventually.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to people going through family court?
Okay, get organised. And that means getting your paperwork. Everybody hates paperwork and whatever. You need to be organised. You need to read, you know, if you get your 1,000-page document, you still need to read it. You need to understand what the process is. Some of it is overwhelming, but there are lots of sources of help, like Kinship Carers. You know, there are lots of places you can find help. CAB, a lot of solicitors will offer a half hour or an hour free advice or reduced advice. So you need to know what you're doing. You need to get your paperwork and your, what they call, get your ducks in a row, so you understand what is happening. And you have to realize that you have to abide by the rules. I've had a client this week say to me, I'm not really ready, and I've got to meet with the children's nursery on Friday, so can we just tell the judge I'm not ready and I can't, and move the court hearing. And you have to gently say to a client, no, a court timetable is a court timetable and you have to follow it. So I think it's, and then listening to professionals. You don't have to agree with professionals, but always listen. So whether that's, you know, social services, lawyers, everything, know the processes, listen to them, and try not to lose your rag. You can be robust, no problem in being robust with people and being, you know, honest and whatever, but keep your cool, because, you know, you've all come across, you know, you've lost the plot or whatever, and gosh, it gets recorded in a report, or there's a comment made, you know, later on down the line. So always keep your cool, you know. That's what I would always say.
That's good advice, very good advice. So what would you like to see changes for the future for kinship carers? What changes, future changes?
Well, I think more, you're working on this, we're all trying to work on this, getting more recognition from social services, from the courts, from schools, because the schools are still often, if not completely ignorant, then they're just that they don't know enough about it to support children. They know about looked after children and adopted and foster, they know all of that, but they don't always understand about some of the nuances of kinship care. So I'd like more recognition of that, more public recognition. It's really good. Tom Daly's doing something at the moment. He's raising money and awareness for kinship carers. So we need more people like that. And then we need more money put into the system. That's a long-term goal. That's not going to happen.
And legal aid for kinship carers.
And legal aid for kinship carers. So that, yeah, that would make a big difference. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for your time this evening, Claire. It's been lovely talking to you.
You're welcome.